Hey, this is Tuhon Aditya from LightHaven. Today we're going to be going over some tips by which you can refine your footwork. We're going to be using the same format that we normally do, which is why we do something, what we're doing and how we're going to go about it. And so I implore you to stick till the end to be able to get a good, well-rounded approach as to how you should approach your footwork. And these are tips that you can integrate into your training immediately. Let's quickly talk about why footwork is so important within a weapon-based martial art or the Filipino martial arts context or perspective. When I look at footwork within this context, I look at solving two major problems. The first is that because I now have a weapon and I'm assuming my opponent has a weapon, there's a longer reach, a lot longer reach that I have. If I'm fighting empty hands and let's say my kick is the most that I can extend, as soon as I have a weapon, suddenly that reach is far, far more. And so that's the first problem I have to overcome, the fact that my opponent can now hit me from much further away and I can now hit my opponent from much further away. The second problem is that oftentimes I cannot just cover this distance to my opponent in a straight line, because that's where he is generally strongest. And even if he doesn't do anything at all, if he just keeps his weapon in front of him, that immediately gives me an obstacle that I cannot overcome by just moving forward. So not only do I need to move across a much longer distance, but it's oftentimes not the most intelligent thing to do to cover that distance in a straight line. At the end of the day, what my feet are essentially trying to do is they're trying to move my body. And this is a really important, really simple concept, but it's an oftentimes overlooked concept. It's not enough for me to be moving my feet, but my body is not moving. I need my feet to be moving my body, whether it's a little bit, whether it's a little bit more. I need my feet to be carrying my body across space, and I need to use my tactics in conjunction with my footwork to make the most of my footwork so that I am the most efficient and most effective when I'm fighting my opponent. So what can I do to solve these problems? Now this is where all your different footwork patterns come into it, and each Filipino martial art has its own sort of patterns or shapes that it likes to make within the art. I'm going to stick to, for the sake of this video, I'm going to stick to ranging footwork. I've gone over it many times. If you guys aren't familiar with it, I'm going to leave a link to that video down below. Please do check that out as well. And ranging footwork is essentially just an open triangle on top of a closed triangle. And then if you want, you can also add in side steps or even just moving to the side, right? So I'm going to be using ranging footwork as an example to talk about all of the different principles that we want to use. While it is helpful and very important to know what specific footwork pattern we're using, for me, I don't think that is enough. Because again, for me, the big question is, what are we actually trying to do with these footwork patterns? And when you strip away all the layers, essentially what you're looking at is a couple of different things. And I add all of these things within the layer of what I call structure, right? So structure for me needs three things to work. Number one, I need to be able to take a good amount of pressure from this forward direction. I want to be strong here. Number two, I want to be able to hit with power. And number three, I want to be mobile. So if I have a nice deep stance like this, yes, I can probably take a lot of pressure from the front. I can possibly even hit back pretty hard, but I don't have much mobility. And if I don't have much mobility, then that doesn't qualify under what I believe good structure should be. And footwork is all about how do I make the most of this structure. So everything that we're going to be talking about today in terms of trying to refine our footwork is going to be under this lens of structure. I at no point want to end up in a position where I am weak, and at no point do I want to end up in a position where I cannot fight, and at no point do I want to end up in a position where I cannot move. And everything we're going to be doing today is all going to be geared towards making us better at these three things. Like I said before, I'm going to be using this ranging footwork as a way to demonstrate all the principles we're going to be talking about. The first thing we're going to be focusing on is what is our relationship to center line, because again, that's going to give us a target and it's going to represent our opponent, and it's essentially going to give us a way to measure the length of our step, right? So when I'm working my ranging footwork, so I'm stepping forward 45 degrees, stepping forward 45 degrees, stepping back 45 degrees, stepping back 45 degrees, stepping to the side and stepping to the side. This is essentially what ranging footwork is, and we're going to do it in two different variants. The first variant, I am viewing center line as this line, and all I'm trying to do is get my head off center line. That's my only purpose. So the length of my step is enough just to get my head off center line. Get my head off center line. If the length of my step is too small, my head doesn't move. If the length of my step is too big though, I sacrifice mobility. So just enough that my head gets off center line while still being a strong structure, which again is I should be able to take forward pressure, I should be able to hit with power, and I should be mobile, right? I don't need to adjust or shift my weight or anything to be able to move from here in whichever direction I need to. I can't fight from here. So the first tip is figure out what is your relationship with center line. Before this I just showed you I just want my head off center line, but that's not always enough. So now I'm going to be working to get my entire body off center line, in which case now I need a bigger step, and then I come back and get my entire body off center line. And to the side and to the side. Now you may be asking me, you cannot fight from this position, which is absolutely true. Now this is where having good strong fundamentals and having someone to guide you comes into play, because especially when it comes to basics like this, understanding what we're training is very important. So, and understanding the context of how it's used is very important. So when people ask me this in terms of what I call this double step, I tell them I'm training an attribute of being able to cover distance, and eventually it's going to be an explosive way for me to shift direction, shift off center line, and then be able to crash back onto center line. I'm not meant to stay here and fight. I cannot do this. This is just a transitionary step. So again, just to get my body out of the way so that I can come back onto center line with more power, with more force. It's very important to identify center line and understand what it represents. At least for right now, center line is my opponent. I am not fighting multiple opponents like this, and I would also very rarely say that this is a good idea to fight someone like this. This is not the best idea. Center line is my opponent. I am always facing in the direction of my opponent. Everything I'm doing is designed for me to be able to make an entry and get past my opponent's weapon and then finish the fight. But I need to remember that center line is my opponent. Center line is where my opponent is standing. Center line is also the origin of all of his attacks. This is a really important concept to remember. The next thing to understand is what it is that that the drill that you're training, whatever drill it may be, is specifically designed for. So let's take the example of ranging footwork right now, or the way that I'm doing it right now in this single step format and then in this double step format. The single step format is designed to teach me structure while also building a relationship to center line. The double step format is there to teach me mobility and also explosiveness. If I understand this, then I can make minor adjustments or keep things in mind that will help me make the most of training these drills. So what does that mean? Oftentimes when I see people doing ranging footwork, they will do a couple of things. They will either lean far too much onto one leg, or bend the leg, again putting too much weight on their front leg, or when they go back, they'll start lifting this front leg, keeping that knee straight. I want to stay away from all of these things. The reason being, for me to be, it's not enough again to just stand strong. I need to be mobile. If all of my weight is on one leg, I can move in that direction no problem without any adjustment. But if I have to move in any other direction, I'm going to require some sort of adjustment, which is going to take away from some of the time that is really, really important to me. And so I want to be in a position at all times where I can respond and move immediately without any sort of setup. And so for that, if I know that I want to build structure over here again, which is I want to take forward pressure, strike powerfully and be mobile, I need my weight to be 50-50. In that case, it doesn't matter if my back heel lifts, as long as my weight does not spill on my front leg, my weight is still 50-50. When I first teach this, Even when I first teach open triangle footwork, I tell them to keep the back heel on the ground, because almost always when someone lifts their back heel up and they're not very good at coordination, they do this. But eventually, of course, when you fight, you're going to want to stay on your toes. In the beginning, this can be fine, but eventually this will happen as long as your weight is 50-50. When I'm going backwards, again, I don't want to be lifting my front foot up because it's sacrificing mobility, and it really leaves my front leg vulnerable. I want to keep that foot down, and I want to keep my weight 50-50. Understanding what I'm trying to do here, get my head off center line. As long as I'm able to do that, I don't need to be lifting this, doing any kinds of strange things. I want to be strong and mobile. In the double step, I'm looking to get my body off center line, and I'm trying to train mobility and explosiveness as separate attributes, right? So when I'm doing this, oftentimes when I do it, I will almost always keep my front leg, with the heel will be on the ground and the back leg will be on its toe. The back leg, or the second leg, let's not call it the back leg. The second leg will almost be like a floating leg. It oftentimes will not even touch the ground. It'll just float back. And this again is teaching me balance. It's teaching me to be able to be solid on my feet. It's teaching me mobility and explosiveness, because this is the step that's going to really help me to cover a lot of distance in a very short period of time. With a single step, I am limited in how much distance I can cover. In the double step, I can cover a lot more distance than in the single step. But understanding what I'm trying to do is going to help me fine tune what it is that I am doing, so I can get the most out of the drills that I am training. There could be one more option within the context of ranging footwork that could come about, and that option could be if I am using this pattern but in a sort of strength and conditioning context, in which case it makes sense for me to have a big stance and really lean onto that front leg. Maybe I'm training my wave ins and wave outs. Maybe I'm training squats, so I'm going to step and squat down. Maybe I'm going to step and touch the ground. If I am training this as a strength drill, then yes, then it makes sense to have longer stances. It makes sense to train things a little bit differently. But again, knowing what you're trying to achieve is going to make all the difference. Ultimately, what we are trying to do is everything, all of these patterns are just ways of us training attributes. Ultimately, we're not looking to move in a pattern. That's not how fights happen. Fights are real, fights are dynamic, and they're constantly evolving and they're constantly moving. And I need my footwork to be able to help me keep up with the opponent, who's not just moving side to side, but he's moving in and out. I am also moving, and I need my footwork to be able to match him and in many ways overcome his footwork, adapt to his footwork, find the breaks and the faults in his footwork, find better tactical positions. It's my footwork that can oftentimes make a huge difference between me coming out of this fight unscathed or me getting my butt whooped. And so eventually what you're looking for is not big steps. What you're eventually looking for is these small micro steps that will help you keep balance, help you make the adjustments, and help you move in real time. Big steps, if I take a big step and I plant, then it's going to take me a second, if my opponent moves, and he will move, to be able to readjust. But a small step or a small couple of steps, 2 or 3 steps, if he moves, I can immediately shuffle and move along with him. I'm not planted into the ground and stuck there. And that's how I would recommend you guys eventually thinking of footwork. So apart from working just like footwork drills from your specific martial art, work on things like the agility ladder, go for runs, work on hill sprints, all of these things that just help your feet become a lot more mobile, and eventually your feet, you want your feet to develop almost independent brains. So I'm not having to think about what my feet need to do. My feet are doing these things automatically all on their own. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, if you learned from what you saw, please do like and share this video. Please do comment down below if you have anything to add. All of these things really do help out the school and the channel a lot. A huge thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to know more about our Patreon page and the exclusive content that we offer there, check out the link I'm going to leave in the description down below. Lastly, thank you all for watching, and see you in the next video.